Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to the late but 20th juz and the 20th session of the Ramadan Tafseer. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen wa afdal salati wa tammu taslim ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in wa ba'd. In the last three surahs, in the last surah we looked at Surah Al-Shu'ara, the poets, and along with that today's surahs, Surah Al-Naml, the ant, and Surah Al-Qasas, the story, all three are actually really revealed at the same time, one after the other. And they all have that primary function of looking at beliefs. Surah Al-Naml, the ant. Now this story is named after an ant, with that conversation that Sulaiman alayhi salam had with the ant, who was given the power to, who was given the ability to speak to animals and understand them, and to which he was thankful for. So this is a story about that. It's about the story of Sulaiman alayhi salam and Bilqis, the queen of Sheba, of Saba, and how they used to worship the sun, and how they became Muslims, all of them. And along with this, Surah Al-Naml looks at other stories of prophets in brief, as well as giving the evidence to Allah's existence and how Allah is one, and to give proof to that, as you shall see in today's tafsir. And then we will be looking at Surah Al-Qasas. Surah Al-Qasas is now mainly about stories of prophets as well, in brief, but more in detail with Surah of Musa alayhi salam, and from his birth, when his mother was given that dream of putting him in a basket, she was inspired to do so, and until he had to deliver his message. And on the way he settled a fight between the Banu Israel, his own Israelite, as well as against the Qibti, the Coptic Egyptian, and he tried to settle that fight, but he actually killed the Qibti, the Coptic Egyptian. As well as we'll be looking at two major aggressive oppressors in the world, Fir'aun and Qarun. That, as I did tafsir yesterday in the masjid on Surah Al-Humazah, that I may mention of them, الَّذِي جَمَعَ مَعَلَهُ وَعَدَّدَ, the ones who gather wealth and try to be superior over others because of the gathering of their wealth and the counting of it and the accumulating of it, and then they think that they will live forever. يَحْسَبُ أَنَّ مَالَهُ أَخْلَدَ, that they will live forever, that their wealth will make their memories forever. So I looked at those two huge oppressors, and it mentions them and their stories. In the first ayah, I want to look at, Allah SWT says, أَإِلَهُمَّ اللَّهِ. Before that, He says, Allahu khayrun amma yushrikun. That is Allah better, or that which you worship? Meaning the idols. Is Allah better, or the ones that you associate partners with Him in terms of idols? So here Allah uses a question. Allahu. So instead of saying Allah, He's made it even longer. Allahu. So in our salah, when we say Allahu Akbar, we should never say Allahu Akbar, like, is Allah the greatest? That is such a wrong thing to say. But we say Allahu Akbar, saying it just with a short Allahu Akbar. So Allahu khayrun amma yushrikun. Is Allah better, or the one that you associate with Allah? So this is just a question in the form of, it's a rhetorical question, it does not need to be answered. It's here to show you that it's ironic and using sarcasm that you are thinking there's partners with Allah. Why? Because in the next 5 verses, Allah SWT mentions that He is the one who created the heavens and the earth, and He brought down the rain. And then after all these 5 verses, in the next 5 verses, He says, Ilahum Allah. That is there a God other than Allah? Isn't it ironic? Don't you think? And then He carries on. He's the one who made the rivers and the seas and the partition between the seas and gardens. And even in the gardens He mentions that you cannot grow trees. Ilahum Allah. Isn't it ironic that we think there's others, Allah has partners, that there's others who are worthy of the title of God? Carries on that He is the one who made the earth a place to settle. He is the one who responds to helpless people when we call upon Him. He is the one who's removed our distresses. He made us vicegerents, the khalifas on the earth. Ilahum Allah. Is there a God other than Allah? Isn't it ironic? Carrying on, guided in darkness. When we need light, and when you're in the seas, or however, stars there, moon, sunlight, He guides us in darkness, not with sunlight, but with the stars and moon. He guides us in darkness. And He's the one who sends us mercy through rain, through wind. Allah, is there a God other than Allah? Isn't it ironic? He's the one who has originated creation, and He reproduces it, and He provides for us. Allah. Is there a God other than Allah? Isn't it ironic? So this is also showing sarcasm here and irony, that He's the one who provides everything, but here we are associating partners with God and saying there's others who have done it for us. Na'udhu billahi min dhalik. Carrying on, we come to the next verse. قُلْ سِيرُوا فِي الْأَرْضِ فَانْظُرُوا كَيْفَ كَانَ عَاقِبَةُ الْمُجْرِمِينَ. Travel the earth and the land and see what is the outcome and the punishment of those who, those criminals in the world. Or in other words, كَانَ عَاقِبَةُ الْمُكَذِّبِينَ, the ones who liars in this world. So it's an order to, in the terms of, it's an order to travel, but it's really a warning, and it's to keep us to take heed of such things, as well as there are times when Allah says, "Qul siru fil ardi fanzuru kayfa bada al-khalqa," that how Allah has created creation and how the wonders and the marvels of the world are. So there is a encouragement to travel, really, as well. But there are other times when the places where we should also possibly travel to the ancient ruins of places, that it's a lesson for us, and we understand that this is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who has created generations before us, and this is the result of them because of the punishment, for example. And to travel the world is to then see what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has done and get close to us through His miracles, through pondering, through reflection, to contemplation as well. In the next verse, now we're going to Surah Al-Qasas. Musa alayhi salam, he says, رَبِّ أَوْزِعْنِي أَنْ أَشْكُرَ نِعْمَةَ قَالَ رَبِّي بِمَا أَنْعَمْتَ عَلَيَّ فَلَنْ أَكُونَ ظَهِيرًا لِلْمُجْرِمِينَ. Musa alayhi salam said, "Oh my Lord, as you have favored me, I will never be a support of the sinners." And this is time when, so this is dua, and this is seeking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he's imploring Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is around the time when he killed that Qibti, the Coptic Egyptian, who was arguing with his own Banu Israel person, his Israelite, and in preventing them from fighting, he hit the Coptic Egyptian, and with the strength that Allah bestowed upon him, that he's thanking Allah for, that you have given me this, favored me with his strength, that he died. So then that was his time to go then to Madian, and that's also related in Surah Al-Qasas, where then he went and he married one of the women from the two sisters of Shu'aib there. And so this is Musa alayhi salam asking a dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And similarly we have Sulaiman alayhi salam, he says, رَبِّ أَوْزِعْنِي أَنْ أَشْكُرَ نِعْمَتَكَ الَّتِي أَنْعَمْتَ عَلَيَّ وَعَلَى وَالِدَيَّ. This is from the previous surah, in Surah Al-Naml, when he could you speak to the animals, he smiled, tabassama dhahikan, as the verse says, that he smiled laughingly, and he was thankful, and he said that, "Oh my Lord, enable me to be grateful to your favor that you have bestowed upon me and upon my family." And this is how the prophets were, and we have to try and be from the shakirin, the ones who are a few. We have to be from the minority, because qalilun min ibadi shakur, that a few are from Allah's slaves who are thankful. So we have to be from this very few in the world, this minority. And then from Shakir we get to Shakur, and that's how the Prophet ﷺ was. He was even more thankful. أَفَلَا أَكُونُ عَبْدٌ شَكُورًا. Shall I not be a thankful slave? And he would have his feet swollen by excessive praying. And the nafil from the Prophets was wajib. For us it's nafil, and it's a supererogatory, it's voluntary. So the Prophet ﷺ was an example to show us how we have to be thankful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I mentioned on giving thanks, Imam Ahmad rahmatullahi alayhi, he once heard this man, and he was can't even see, he was blind, he had nothing really, and he was thanking Allah. And he said, "Why? How come you're thanking Allah? And what is it?" And he said, "I'm thanking Allah on a heart that is thankful, and on my tongue that is moist with dhikr." Again, there's one person, a story of someone who did the tawaf of the Kaaba, and all he said was, "Alhamdulillah alladhi, Alhamdulillah ala ni'mat al-Islam wa kafa biha ni'ma." That praise be to Allah, and thanks that He has given me the blessings of Islam, and upon that, that is sufficient, that blessing. And we have to realize all the blessings Allah has given us, and this is all he said around the Kaaba when he's doing tawaf, such that the angels in the dream came to him, that they were fighting over what is the reward of this. They were scrambling to try and find out what's the reward, and they went to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and said, leave it, I will reward it. So these are two stories, but from stories, if there's good morals and goes in the theme of what we have learned from the whole Islamic teachings, then it's good to tell them. And this is two stories about giving thanks to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that He says that there's only a few who give thanks. May Allah make us from those who thank Him. وَقَصَّ عَلَيْهِ الْقَصَصَ. The final one is jinaz, is a pun. And with this is to nicely to listen, is to attract our ears to the way the Quran is when you recite it, and that your heart feels so lovely with it, and has that effect on it from these words that Allah subhanahu says, وَقَصَّ عَلَيْهِ الْقَصَصَ, and we related to them the stories. We relate to and qasasa, again the words with the same letters, and it's using that in the same sense, jinas, a pun. And stories, Quran is made up of many of stories. Quran is made up of laws. Only 500 out of 6,342, or about roughly 6,000 verses of the Quran, 500 are only to do with laws. That's 8%. So the remaining are with stories, are with akhlaq, about conducts of etiquettes, is about aqaid, beliefs, and about haqaiq, about the reality, and having that when we pray to Allah and do our worship to Allah. Wa sallallahu alayhi wa sallam Muhammad wa alihi wa sahbihi wa barak wa sallam.